everyone, and welcome back to Superhero Headquarters. I am Miss Dorch, and here at Superhero Headquarters, we are molding the superheroes of tomorrow. In today's video, it's going to be all about the first year teacher. As we have new teachers entering the field, I think that it's very important that teachers entering their second year or just veteran teachers kind of sprinkle a little advice on them or let them know what to expect. I really wish someone had let me know. Okay, I wish somebody would have told me some things. So I just wanted to kind of sprinkle a little bit of what I've learned in my first year of teaching, which was last year. So yes, I'm still a newbie at this, but I felt like it was very important for me to reflect and honestly let you know what to expect. Because like I said, if I knew then what I know now, it would have saved Miss Dorch the trouble. Okay, so if you are a first year teacher or if you're about to go into your first year teaching and you want to know what to expect, come along. Okay. Before we begin, make sure to hit the notification bell, the like and subscribe button so you can always keep up with Superhero Headquarters. Thank you. So, in this video, I kind of want to hint on this article that I read because it really is what sparked this video and this conversation for me. I will link the article down below because I don't really remember who wrote the article, but I do still have access to it. So I will link it down below for you all to read on your own. But I really felt like this article really outlined what first year teaching was about. Like when I read this article in my master's program, I was just like, that person that they're referring to, that's me. And so I felt like it was important that I come on here and kind of share it with you all and talk about how I related to the article in general. So in this article, they outlined 5 stages for the first year teacher. And in the first stage, you have the anticipation stage. And in the anticipation stage, this is where teachers are overly excited or new teachers are overly excited. This is for me where I was searching Pinterest. I was laminating and creating stuff for my classroom. For me, that stage started the minute I hit senior year. I was researching stuff about how I wanted my classroom to be. I was really focused in class because I knew that I would learn stuff. When I entered student teaching, I tried to be as hands-on as possible so that I would get as much knowledge as I needed to have. I was just excited. Like in this first few months, in the first months before you actually get into the classroom, you're going to feel a lot of excitement. And that's simply because you have been working for this for a long time. So you're no longer playing the background to the lead teacher in your student teaching. This is your classroom. Okay, yes, you're going to feel a little nervous because I definitely did, because I was like, oh my gosh, like in student teaching, there was someone else to take the fall if I made a mistake. But now that's purely on me. So you are going to feel some type of nervousness, but your excitement is going to ultimately override that. And you're going to just be oozing with just gratefulness and happiness because you're like, yes, I got my own classroom. Let's get it. Let's go. Okay. So then after like the first 2 months, I would say you hit a stage of survival. And I think that survival stage kind of comes in like school starts in August. So August, September, you're in this excitement stage. And then you get to November, right? And I feel like October, November is where you kind of hit this survival mode. Like you're learning so much information at once and you're just like, I knew that it was going to be a lot, but this is crazy. And for me, I think my program did a fairly good job. Shout out to Jackson State University, Education Department, whoop whoop. I think my program did a very good job at preparing me as much as possible. Granted, there were still some things that I needed to learn. It wasn't a lot. And I think that kind of contributed to why my survival stage wasn't as drastic, but depending on your school district and things like that, you never know. So survival stage is really where you're just being hit with all this information and you're really just trying to take it in. This is also the point where you're working crazy hours. And I don't mean the school district is requiring you to do that. I mean, you're doing it to yourself. I would literally go to work at 6 o'clock and I would leave by 7. And then I would take work home and do more work for school. So I was leaving no time for me. And it got to a point where I became physically drained. But I don't want to talk about that yet because that will go into the next stage. So I want to stay on the survival stage. So yeah, in the survival stage, you're going to be hit with a lot of new information and it's going to seem real quick because as a teacher, a lot of things have deadlines. And for principals, you know, they expect you to know a lot of things because you went through whatever program you went through. But in this stage, one thing that I wish someone would have told me is that it's okay not to know. When I went in as a first year teacher, I wanted not to seem superior, but I wanted to feel as ready as I think I should have been. So a lot of times I wouldn't ask questions and that left me in a very tight spot. So I really would advise you to make sure that you have like your teacher buddy or teacher bestie, because once I got a teacher bestie, it was smooth sailing. Or just to make connections, because you are going to have questions. There are going to be some things that your program did not teach you that you're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to learn it quickly. So I would say, so that your survival stage isn't as bad, have a buddy. There's nothing wrong with making friends. Just make sure they're positive people and people who are willing to help, because you're going, like I said, you're going to have a lot of questions, okay? So yeah, that's the survival stage. And then the next stage is called the disillusionment stage. I probably said that wrong, but I'll spell it above. Excuse me. But this is the stage for me that was real, y'all. And this stage kind of happens before Christmas break. This is where you're tired. And when I say tired, I mean your body knows you're tired. Your mind is tired. And this is kind of where you kind of start to question yourself. Your self-esteem as a teacher becomes low. You start to question your pedagogy. Yeah. And for me, this was the stage where I got really depressed. As a first year teacher, I went into extreme depression, and it was because I didn't take time to replenish myself. I was so busy doing work that I forgot that Miss Dorch needed Miss Dorch time. Like, I needed time to unplug and just be diamond. You know, I didn't know how to turn off the Miss Dorch switch and be me. And that stage was really real for me. I started counseling because it was a lot. I was going through so many different transitions. And I want you to realize that as a first year teacher, especially if you're coming out of undergrad straight into the classroom, especially if you're an out-of-state student who is now transitioning into moving into a new space, even though you've been teaching in that state, well, not teaching, but even though you've been going to school in that particular state, you're going to experience this moment where you're just like, this is too much. And it's going to feel like it's too much because you honestly have been doing a lot of big transitions in a short amount of time. For me, I went to Jackson State, and so I moved to Mississippi to teach. I permanently moved to Mississippi. So my family is originally from Chicago. So I was moving to a new state where I didn't have family. My friends had graduated, and I'm very glad that I had sisters, sorority sisters, that were willing to, you know, be there if need be. And I also was dating. So in that period of time where I hit a depression, it was just like, okay, I done transitioned into moving here. I'm by myself. So when things get rough, it was a little difficult. Me and my boyfriend were kind of at odds and went our separate ways. So that was a big thing for me. And then teaching was just a whole nother ball game. So it was like there was no peace, and I didn't know how to cope with it because it was all fairly new to me. And so in this stage, I want you to be careful of not unplugging. It's important to unplug, to be you. For me, when I unplug, I say, "Ooh, okay, I could be Diamond." You know, that's my first name. So I say, "Ooh, I could be me." You know, I could be Diamond. I don't have to be Miss Dorch. Like, I need to take care of myself. And one thing that I challenge myself to do, and that I learned through counseling, because I do go to counseling, I still go, is I try something new every week. Or when I get up every morning, before I go in my school building, I listen to my favorite song. I do something that makes me happy, that has nothing to do with these children. And it's not you being selfish. It's not you being mean or forgetful or negligent. It's simply you doing what's best for your students. Because honestly, when I wasn't my best, I don't feel like I gave my students my best. And so me giving back to myself and replenishing my energy really allowed me to stop pouring from a cup that was empty. Because at some point my cup was empty, and my kids can even tell you, they would come to school and be like, "Miss Dorch, what's wrong?" And even though I tried to play it like I'm cool, they felt the energy. And so it's very important that you stay true to you and you really give your best. And giving your best is making sure that you're healthy, taking those mental health days, or allowing yourself moments to not be in teacher mode. I know that it's difficult and it's going to be hard, but you can't be in teacher mode 24/7 or you will run yourself crazy. Okay, and then the next stage is rejuvenation. And this is after Christmas break, or while you're on Christmas break. You know, you don't have to think about school. There's no work to be done, so you can really like rest. And for me, this was a lifesaver because I got to rest my mind. I got to rest my body. I had finished most of my work before I left for Christmas break, so there really wasn't much for me to do. So it really allowed me to just woosah. And then I was able to go home and see my family. So that feeling of, oh my gosh, I miss my home, I miss my family, I was able to get a little piece of that. Just, you know, to really bring my spirits back up, because my self-esteem was really low. I wasn't able to see if my students were retaining the information or if they were growing. It was just a lot. So this stage was really important for me during Christmas break because I really got to get my energy back. And then when we came back to school in January, my kids took a MOI, which is a middle of the year diagnostic assessment. And I got to see that they were growing. So that, again, pumped me up a little more because I was like, hey, like, yeah, I was teaching them something. And they was learning it. Okay. So that really, like, put a smile on my face and made me excited because I felt like there was a big period of time where I felt like what I was doing wasn't impacting them, or they weren't understanding, and I didn't know how to make them understand if they weren't. So yeah, so the rejuvenation stage is really what happens when you take your breaks, and you really take your breaks. Like, don't do any schoolwork on your Christmas break, or at least wait till towards the end of your Christmas break to do some work, but allow yourself to rest. And this is kind of where, like, when you get to that week before you go back, you kind of start rethinking some things. Like, okay, maybe I need to change my behavior plan. Okay, I got this. I need to do this. Okay. You kind of start thinking. And then that goes into the last phase, which is the reflection stage, or the reflection phase. And in the reflection phase, this is where you kind of take a moment, you sit back and you say, what didn't work? What did work? What do I need to change? And this is the most important. And this is the one that you need to spend the most time on. For me, at the end of last year, you know, we went into COVID. And so there was a lot of things to reflect on, especially coming into this new school year. So I took my reflection stage very seriously because I didn't want to go back through the stages. And the reflection stage really allows you the opportunity to make sure that you don't have to go back through the phases of a first year teacher. I didn't want to hit that depression stage anymore. So I made a plan to take certain days out for myself. I, personally worked on some things that I felt like I needed to work on. This year when I came in, I was like, okay, I already know what to expect. I kind of have an idea of how things are supposed to go here at the school, what my principal is going to ask for. So I started those processes early, so that when she did ask for them, I was either halfway done or it was already complete. So yeah, the reflection stage is very important for you. So make sure that you reflect and you really understand what works and what didn't work. And I really honestly advise you to reflect very often. And know that even if your children are not showing the proficiency that you want, as long as they're growing, you're doing something right. And that's something that I really had to remember, because schools are so data driven. And some schools that are data driven are driven on proficiency and not growth. And so as long as you're growing your students, you're doing your job as a teacher. And knowing that you, as a teacher, yes, you're an advocate. And as a teacher, you want to move and save everyone. And it's important to meet all students where they are. But know that you're one person. And put your best foot forward. Do what you can. But honestly, remember that you're one person. And yeah, do your best. So that's my little tidbit. I hope this video helps you on what to expect. If you ever have questions, I'm very open. I put my emails in the description box of all my videos, just in case anybody wants to email me about different questions that they may have. Just because I believe that there's importance in having a village and helping each other along the way. So again, thank you for coming to Superhero Headquarters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.